Welcome to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. A couple of great friends and a couple of great guests on the show with us this week. It's KC and Dan Caldwell, better known as KC and the Round Man. They used to do a radio show in here in the Lake area, but really it was all over central Missouri, called KC and the Round Man. And what a lot of their listeners didn't know for maybe 17 years was that they're father and son. You guys, dad, son.
That's right.
But you didn't want people to know that when you were doing the show.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, so when we started the show in 2003, we didn't want, the way that we spoke to each other, we didn't feel like at the time when we first came into the community that people would understand if they knew that we were father and son, because we spoke to each other very sharply.
You're an idiot.
There you go.
Exactly. Right. And of course then we would play off of that.
Yeah.
And we felt like we made a conscious decision actually before we went on the air to say this is something that we need to keep under wraps.
Yeah.
So that when I go, are you kidding me, dude? I mean, seriously, that sort of thing, that there wasn't, people wouldn't think, oh my gosh, that's a disrespect thing.
Yeah.
But it was a show. So
Did you ever really get angry with each other on the air? Did you ever get into some real fights?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, not on the air.
Okay. Off of the air.
Oh, just as soon as the mic went off.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, how did that work? What happened?
Well, I have one particular story.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
So we were doing way back. We had an AM station too.
Yeah.
In Lebanon, and we were doing this auction.
That's the one I was thinking too.
My God.
Oh my gosh.
And so we were doing this auction, and somebody had said something. I don't even what the point of the argument. It didn't matter. But we turned the mics off, and it is knock down, drag out. I'm on this side of the board, like if this is the control board and he's over here, and I'm here, and we're screaming, pointing, screaming. Things are going in the air.
Wow.
And I looked over at the computer, and I looked at him, and I was like, dude,
Here we go.
here we go. And we turned the mics on, and it was like nothing happened.
Right.
But we hear this giant noise in the lobby.
We had this man working for us that was he reminds me of some of you. A very calm.
Very handsome and gorgeous.
Yes,
Sure,
that's right.
that's
Yeah.
exactly
I mean,
what I
that's
was
exactly what
thinking.
we were thinking.
But a man of God, but just a kind man.
He
and
is,
he
yeah.
lost
He-
his you know what.
Wow.
Because he didn't understand that it's show business.
Right.
So when the mics are on, guess what? You forget whatever it was before, it doesn't matter.
Interesting.
And he just kind of threw his things in the air. Of course, because of our humor and our personalities, we get back off the air and kind of peek around and start laughing, which was probably uncalled for at the time. But the argument was over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that was just one.
Just blowing off steam.
Yeah.
One of the things that you did, may I? At that time?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things that KC did that sticks in my mind is we were remodeling a station, and the guy that owned the building hired some Amish, or they were either Amish or Mennonite or something, young men, carpenters, to put in some new windows for us. Mm-hmm. And they were just really, really good professional people. And all of a sudden, he says, "Yep, folks, you have to forgive all the hammering and sawing going on in the back room. We've got some Amish going on next year." And he says, "No, wait a minute. I think they're Mennonites." And with that, he hits a button, and that song, what the Israelites comes on. But every time it said Israelites, we said Mennonites.
Okay.
And I said, we shouldn't be making fun of these people. And he says, they can't listen to the radio, it'll be fine.
I mean, honestly.
Now that's how irreverent we got.
But that's what made your show so funny.
Well, and we were talking about this, is where back in 2003, 4, and 5, that kind of humor was still I will say semi-acceptable.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas if we tried to do the show again.
You might not have been able to get away with that.
Oh, I don't know if I could. I don't know if we could do that.
Times have changed.
They have.
Yeah.
They have.
And they haven't for me, so that's why I'm not on the air anymore.
Well, it's because you're
That's
old.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
old.
right.
Absolutely.
But honestly, that is another part of the reason, kind of, that we kind of looked around and went, you know what? We've been doing this same show for 17 years,
Yeah.
as the KC Dan Man show. I think it's time for somebody to retire.
Yeah.
I was 70 at the time. I thought that's
And you
long
felt the
enough.
need to do that.
Yeah, I wasn't as quick as I was before.
Yeah.
And I didn't want the show to suffer. And I got tired of getting up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, that's a big thing
Ooh,
right
baby.
there. Okay, so we're talking with KC and the Round Man. They did a legendary show on the radio here at the lake for a long time. So we're kind of getting some stories behind the scenes and much more. So we'll have more here on the COMC Community Spotlight Show right after this. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center offers 3 OBGYNs at the Osage Beach Clinic and 2 pediatricians with same-day appointments available. At COMC, our doors are open to everyone with 5 primary care locations conveniently located across the Ozarks. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission. Welcome back to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. We were just laughing during the community. They were telling me even the further story of the fight on the air. So what was the genesis of KC and the Round Man? When did you guys decide that you were going to do a radio show together? This wasn't something that you decided, 40 years ago. At some point, you came together and decided to get into business together, own a radio station, do a show, right? When was that?
Well, it was really when we came up here from Missouri. We were hired on so we owned 7 stations in Arkansas.
Okay, both of you did.
Us in a group.
Okay.
Yes, and then we were hired on to come up to manage KCLQ.
Okay.
And there was an intern period in between there where I was trying to figure out what to put on the air, trying to formatically to build the sound.
KC, by the way, is a formatic genius.
Right.
Well, thank you.
He actually invented a radio program, a music kind of format. Yeah. That Radio and Records, which if you don't know is a big industry standard, they put a name on this, which you guys didn't like.
They
right?
did. So they did a little article, and this would have been 06 or 07. So it'd been on the air for a couple years. And they called it Texas Rock, and I was like, "Well, they didn't call me."
Right. Who's in Texas?
Like none of us were in Texas. Well, it had turned out because of I-44, programmers were passing, driving St. Louis and whatever, were listening on that along I-44, and it's stolen the format and taken it to Texas.
Interesting.
Which is great. Like, I mean, hey, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you Texans are kind of.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I didn't want to
That's
say
for
any of
sure.
that, but
So, and this Texas format, is that what they call it? Texas?
well, it's
Texas.
so it was dubbed Texas Rock. So it's mostly country with 2 classic rock songs an hour.
Okay.
But it's not traditional like chart country. It's only things that are medium fast tempo, and fast tempo. So all your slow ballads, we didn't play that for a decade.
Wow.
A whole decade of music of ballads just never got played.
You
on
left the ballads out. It was kind of more upbeat rock and roll and a classic rock.
Yes.
Until our audience said, "Would you please add some of that?" To it?"
Interesting. Okay.
And so we changed.
And then you added that.
I added it back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like more, the country or the classic rock?
I'm a classic rock guy.
Yeah.
Top 40 is my forte.
Really?
Yeah, I started in top 40 and love it. I don't know if I still love it because that format has changed so much where now that what we would consider top 40 now is considered urban, where there was an urban format back 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And it kind of has molded together, CHR rhythmic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep into the woods.
So it was during this time when you came up from Arkansas to run KCLQ. which is now 107.9 The Coyote.
That's correct.
Yeah. So it was then that you decided, okay, well, maybe we want to partner here and do this.
Well, we got hired on as a management crew together.
Okay.
And then I had got the format written, and I don't know. It just kind of, we went, let's do it, I guess.
Here's what happened.
Okay, the
Honestly,
real story.
I don't really remember.
Here's what happened. We needed a strong morning show. And the old saying in radio is if you got a strong morning show, it'll carry the rest of the day.
Yeah, and that's true.
And we couldn't find anything.
So you just
We
decided
couldn't find
to do
anybody, and finally we decided we might as well do it ourselves and not pay somebody. Let's just do it and see if it works.
it. Yeah.
And then it kind of just changed as time went on. I remember sitting out on the sidewalk on the square
Yeah.
and deciding that we need to soften just a little bit.
Yeah,
You remember that?
I do remember that. It was a sad day.
Yeah. Because you guys couldn't be as cutting edge as you were before.
We were very sharp.
Right.
Knife sharp.
Yeah.
We were concerned about the kids.
We were.
Oh, okay.
We
yeah.
knew we had a
That's a big
large
concern.
youth audience, and we felt we had a responsibility to those kids.
Some of those jokes that we told back in the day, I'm not sure. I mean, I have a 13-year-old son.
Yeah.
And I really think about it all the time now.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm not sure we would have felt right
Yeah.
if we wouldn't have softened up a bit. You know, we wanted to include everybody.
Yeah.
Birth to death.
Yep. Okay. So you retired at some point.
I did.
Was that what brought an end to the Casey and the Roundman show when you decided to retire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't going to continue doing a show without the big man.
Right.
Because we had done it for so long, and then those audience members, we're on third generation audience members by that time.
Yeah.
So you go, if you do one by yourself, it just isn't the same, and you're always going to get judged against what you did before.
Yeah.
So we hung it up.
But you still own the radio station. I think you sold your part of it to him. You run the radio station now.
I do.
Is that hard? Do you miss having the big man there with you every day?
No. No, I'm playing.
I think that there's some truth to
There
that.
is a little bit of truth to that, but it's very difficult when you're used to running I'll use a corporation, a business, a small business, used to running it as a two-head, and then one day you don't have that extra set of hands, but forget the hands, you don't have the bounce off to say, hey, what about this, or what do you think about this? And I think that we did a really, really, really good job over the years of bouncing those things back off of each other. Now I still call him all the.
Yeah, he calls me, and if it's a big decision, we still bounce things off of each other. But I think that he had to run it his way,
Yeah.
and that's hard to do when I'm hanging around.
Sure. Absolutely.
So
He
I
still
stopped
hangs
hanging
around, by the way. Comes in, has coffee.
But after working with them for several years, you guys had a special relationship. You had a hole in the wall where you could talk to each other all day long, throughout the day. And I think there was a window you could open and close it if you wanted to, right? If you didn't want to hear what the other one was doing. But all the time, probably 20, 30 times a day, so you'd open a window and talk to the other one. And I would guess that's almost like losing, a spouse or a loved one or something when he decided to retire.
Yeah, so it took me a second to, I don't know if transition is the word I would use. I think it's more of I was driving programming, and then and in 2012, let me back up. In 2012, you had triple bypass.
Quadruple.
Whatever.
Quadruple.
Whatever. Lots of things were happening here. So at that point, some of that financial fiduciary responsibility had fallen onto my desk. So I kind of kept that part rolling.
Yeah.
So the transition moving into handling it all, what I lost was my best friend and the ability to say, hey man, through the window.
Yeah.
Here's the cool part. It's still Dad. He still has a cell phone when he decides to pick it up.
But we did learn something through that process.
Yeah.
He's way better with numbers than I am. I mean, way better.
Yeah.
So he was a better manager for that part of the business than I ever was.
Kind of do what you have to do sometimes,
So-
right? Okay, so we're out of time. It's KC and the Round Man, the Caldwells, legendary radio folks here at the Lake 1079 The Coyote. And website is what?
1079thecoyote.com.
Okay.
Or on Facebook, because, social media rules the world.
Yep.
It's just 1079 The Coyote.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for the COMC Community Spotlight Show.